you said for whatever reason, you couldn't sleep at night, and what happened?
Well, I couldn't sleep one night, and it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just like woke up and something said, "You're going to New York." You know, when the big guy speaks, you listen. So I was like, all right, this is what you want me to do. So, I mean, everything just kept falling into place. I was able to take a leave of absence from my job, and I was able to just like, the first thing I went on my computer and I clicked onto this website, and the guy called me within like 10 minutes, and he's sending me emails and calling me, and he's like, we need you, we need ER, we need trauma, we need critical care. And I was like, okay, I'm there. And he's like, we need you ready. And actually he said a week, but it was actually more like 5 days. And I was like, okay.
So Leah, when all of this started moving so fast, did you ever have any moment of regret, or did you ever have any apprehension going into this?
Oh, not at all. In fact, I started getting super excited. Like I wanted to get down here so fast. You and I had talked earlier, and I was saying, you know, nursing is like a camaraderie, like police officers, firefighters, military people. It's like we're all in the same gene, and we just want to help each other, and we want to be there for each other. And I was getting on Facebook on the New York website for the healthcare workers, and they were just talking about their emotional issues that they were going through, and how hard it was, and people were dying, and you know, their family members were getting sick, and all their patients were dying, and they were just overwhelmed, and they were understaffed, and they just were, it's like you could just hear how exhausted they were getting. And so it was just really good for me to come down here and help them, and they are so thankful. I mean, I can't even like walk in the hospital and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you for coming. You're from Tampa? Oh, thank you for coming. Oh, I bet you love our weather, you know? And I'm like, no, I don't. It's cold.
So you had told me you got down there April 17th. You're there for 8 weeks, and you are concerned because you're anticipating a second wave.
Yeah, it's kind of the big talk right now in the hospitals, because they're starting to open things up more, which, you know, it's going to happen eventually, but we're kind of at a lull right now, and they're saying 2 to 3 weeks ago it was just busy, and now we're just like taking care of the patients instead of getting the influx of patients. Unfortunately, we have a lot pass every night still. I mean, this is a horrible monster that we're dealing with, and it's like a research game all the time. We're always trying to figure out what we can do to help this patient get better. And as they keep coming in, we just like, they said they kept coming in, and now they're like not coming in anymore. Now we're getting like the traumas, like people are getting out and about, and they're starting to go, you know, have their fights, and they've been inside for so long. So now they're like, the ER starting to fill up with actual ER patients. And I think that everybody was so scared to go to the ER before this because they didn't want to get sick. And now I think more people are starting to feel more comfortable, like, hey, maybe this COVID thing's over. So I mean, the big talk is, when is the second wave going to hit? And pretty much everybody in the hospital is saying it's probably going to be within the next couple of weeks.
So tell me this. I want to kind of ask you, why did you want to be a nurse?
Why did I want to be a nurse? Well, it goes back to super long time ago. I graduated in 1998, and I watched my grandmother die. My grandmother had Parkinson's, and I was really close with her, and I was like with her when she passed, and I was like, I need to do this. I need to take care of people for a living. I want to be here for them when they die. And it's funny because that's what I'm doing now. Is I'm with people when they die all the time down here. So.
How long have you been a nurse?
Almost 24 years.
And how long have you been in the Tampa Bay area?
We moved down here in '09 from
Okay.
Michigan.
And that's when you worked at Tampa General, and then you made the shift over to Moffitt for something new. You said something interesting, that your time over at Moffitt, you've seen some similarities between, let me make sure I got this right. You said to me earlier that you've seen similarities between cancer patients and COVID patients.
Yeah, they're amazing, wonderful fighters. And I'm in awe of them because they just fight, fight, fight. They don't give up. And just when you think that they're right at the end, they're right at the end. Well, nope, they bounce right back and they keep fighting. And it's amazing to watch the process.
Share with me the moment you had with that woman recently when you had to intubate her. And tell me this, I want to make sure I get this right, because obviously I'm not medically savvy. When you intubate, that's ventilator. Intubate equals ventilator, right?
Correct.
Okay. So will you share with me that story where this was recent, right?
Yeah, like 4 days ago.
Yeah, tell me what happened.
Well, we have a lot of healthcare workers that come in, which is a majority of the COVID patients that we are dealing with right now are healthcare workers. They're doctors, they're nurse practitioners, anesthesiologists, nurses, the housekeepers. They've all been coming in, and the lady came in, and she was a nurse practitioner, and she was doing good, and then all of a sudden she just really desatted. Her oxygen level went down, and she just kept looking at me, and she just kept repeating, don't let me die, don't let me die, don't put a tube down my throat, don't do the, I mean, I don't want to be intubated, I don't want to be intubated, I don't want to die. And finally it just got to the point where we had to put her down, and she looked right at me when we said, honey, we have to intubate you, we've got to do this. And she swept her head right at me with her big eyes and said, don't let me die. And it just like, she's still alive right now. I mean, I think she's doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it just kind of tears at your heartstrings because, like, she's a fellow nurse, and, she knows what's going on.
Yeah. When she said to you, don't let me die, what did you say to her?
I won't. You're going to be all right, honey. We're going to take care of you.
And you've had a lot of those moments with a lot of people. What do you say when people are so scared?
You just try and reassure them. Let them know that you're doing everything you can to help them. It's more of a reassurance and a comfort for somebody just to know that somebody cares, and that they're not in a room full of people that are just there to take care of them. They actually have somebody who wants to take care of them, that cares for them and wants to hold their hand and talk to them through things that are going on. And it's a comfort for them. And that's what I like to be a comfort for a lot of people when they get in situations like that.
You mentioned how no family's there. So you've been that in a lot of ways. You're the only person there when they take their last breath. What has that been like?
It's really odd. I've never been in a hospital where visitors are not allowed. And it's really odd for me for this whole transition of no visitors allowed. We do have little iPad tablets that we give we bring around to each of the patient, and we give out like a certain number, and the family calls in all the time, and it just gives them that reassurance that they can see their family member. They know they can't physically be with them, but they can see them, 2-3 times a day. We have them sing goodnight. And last night we had a lady's husband and the family, they all sang lullaby songs to her to help her go to sleep and help comfort her. And it was just so, all of us nurses were just bawling in the room. It was just so heartwarming. And she's like 43 years old, so it was like very touching. And all these little kids are singing to her, and we love you, mommy. And we just want to be that. I want to be that surrogate family member that they don't have, because they're scared. They don't know what's going on. Even though they're intubated and they're medically sedated, you can look into their eyes and you just see the emptiness and the hollowness inside, and you can just tell that they are frightened people. Mm-hmm. And they just need somebody there that wants to care. And there's doctors. I sent you a picture. We sit there and we hold their hands, and the picture I sent of you was one of the Navy doctors, because we have a lot of Navy people here, doctors and nurses, and the doctor was just holding his hand, and it's just, that's what we do. We hold their hand, we let them know we're there, up until the moment they take their very last breath. We want them to feel comforted, and we want them to just know that we're there for them. And we see people die all the time. Sorry. People are dying like crazy, and it's really, really hard. And when they're so alone and they're so afraid, you just want to be there for them. So sorry.
No, thank you, Leah. And you are in the ER. In what hospital is that in Brooklyn?
It's Kings County. It's one of the biggest and oldest hospitals in New York, I believe. And it is actually where all the other hospitals from New York that can't handle the amount of people, the COVID patients, it's kind of like ground zero for COVID patients.
And it's King, King, right?
Yep, Kings County. I think there's an S on it.
Yeah. I think that you really captured this, and you really are special, because those nurses in New York, they have no choice. You chose to go to ground zero. So we thank you so much for your bravery.
Well, I'm thankful for all of you guys, because you guys are like the real heroes, and you guys are the ones that are staying in your house and having to not go outside. I actually get to go outside and walk to work. I get to enjoy the fresh air, and everybody else is stuck at home. And I think everybody who is just having to go through this is the real heroes, because it's not easy for anybody.
I want you to share with me, Leah, that really tough story about the head nurse. You haven't been there long, but you were there long enough to know how special this woman was to that entire hospital and that memorial service. Will you kind of tell me what happened with her?
Well, I came into work, and I think it was like 4 or 5 days ago, and it was around 8 o'clock, and because our shift starts at 8, and it was about 8 o'clock, and they said we would like a moment of silence and for the head nurse. And I had heard about that in pre-conference or post-huddle, we call it, that she had passed on, and she had given 30 years of her life. She was a head nurse, 30 years of her life to that ER. She was very well known. Everybody loved her. She was a pit bull is what they said. But she passed away from COVID. She was up in that hospital for 3 weeks on a ventilator, and it just got the best of her. And it was hard, because there's not a lot of staff that's left. It's a lot of travelers here, and we all we felt camaraderie. She was just we felt like we knew her, because it was just so touching. And we come in, and they said we would like a moment of silence, and that moment of silence just kind of overtook us all. And we just I looked around, and there wasn't really anybody not crying. It was really hard, and I had to actually go in the bathroom and put myself together, because I was so embarrassed, because I'm like, I didn't even know this lady. And I started bawling my eyes out, and it just was very heartwarming, and to hear the stories about her. And it was just, they had a memorial for her out in the ambulance bay a couple days later, and it was another heart-wrenching thing. And you don't even know her, and it just hit really hard.
Well, Leah, like I said, it's incredible to hear your story. We're down here in Florida. We're talking about reopening. Some of the beaches are opening. Restaurants are thinking about 25%, and everybody's so eager to get back to normal. And you're still kind of on the front lines of hell there.
Yeah.
But you are an angel in all of it. I'll tell you that.
Well, thank you. But I don't feel that way. This is my calling. I love to take care of people, and I love to be there for people. And I'm not a nurse by profession. I'm a nurse because that's me. I love to take care of people and be there for them.
Thank you so much.